Good evening, dear viewers, those of you who are here in the studio and everyone else watching from home. Welcome to XIDIG TV. My name is Abdi Ibrahim. I am honored to be your host tonight, and we're coming to you live from XIDIG TV station here in St. Cloud for an important and timely conversation about civic engagement, your voice, your power. And tonight I'm joined by a respected community leader, candidate for District 14A, Abdi Desane, for a meaningful dialogue about leadership, participation, and the future of this community here in central Minnesota. We are also as well joined by some live audience who will have the opportunity to ask questions as they see fit. And then Abdi has been a guest in the studio for some time in a while, very well conversed with local issues. And tonight, Abdi, I want to welcome you and welcome you to feel welcome here in the studio and
thank you.
Talk about community participation.
Thank you so much. I want to thank XIDIG TV, especially my good friend Mohammed Jama, who put together this conversation for all of us. I think it is a very important conversation, and this is different from my other times that I used to be here, because we have some live audience, and nothing better than a live audience because that's entertaining, even though me and you are not funny. But we are hoping, that folks in the audience will ask a better question than we are going to discuss just two of us. Because that's the whole point of this. It's more richer when everyone else is pitching in the ideas, their thoughts. We are in a very difficult moment in our community. Minnesota have seen a surge of federal agents in our communities, harassing people, kidnapping folks, and just creating fear across communities in central Minnesota and all over the state. So this is very important conversation. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you, Abdi. So the federal operation Metro Search, a very large-scale ICE enforcement operation in the state of Minnesota, is now coming to final phase. There has been so much arrest, protest, and police backlash. My question is, how does this development, the ending of ICE search in this state, influence your views on civic participation here in central Minnesota? Do you think the actions of few heroic individuals have led to this withdrawal? What are your views on this?
Well, first of all, I wanna be optimistic. So hopefully this is, as they said, ICE is going out finally from Minnesota. Though I'm not sure how much I will believe that until I see it happening. But whatever happened, our community has changed by what was happening in the last few months. ICE and federal agents have terrorized our community, as I said earlier. We have been impacted in every way that you can think of. Our communities, we have people that never left home since ICE arrived in the state. We have kids that did not go to school. We have families that didn't go to work. And we have businesses that have seen a very, reduced of customers and sales because of what's happening. So the impact and the damage is done in our community, but we are a community that is resilient. We will definitely recover in time, but hopefully that is true, and it's not just. In my opinion, I see that this might have a different face, but might not be an end of it. This wasn't about immigration enforcement. It was about politics, and as we know, election is not done yet. So the way I see this happening is this is going to go on for a long time.
You mentioned that the last ICE phase has been more of targeted towards people of color, and specifically, Mexicans and Somalis. Having that in mind, and whatever happened, do you think now more than ever people need to be more active in the community? As you know, for many in our immigrant community, navigating civic system can feel so confusing and frustrating. What resources or civic pathways do you think are there for folks to stay informed about policies that impact their life, so we don't have to have a repeat of what just happened?
That's a good question. It's a loaded question. I will say, and the topic today is civic engagement. Yes. It's a very broad topic. It takes different forms. Civic engagement could be community members meeting at the library. It also could be people in the streets demanding justice, as we have seen in the last few months happening right here in Minnesota. But also the whole year, I can say, because of the No King protest and all those. And those are all forms of protest. The way I see it, honestly, is if ICE were to leave today, it didn't happen because the governor made it happen. It didn't happen because the president didn't make it happen. It happened because people of all walks of life step up, defend their communities, took the streets, sacrificed their lives, like Renee Good and Alex. Those people, because of those people and their sacrifice, is why, if anything happens, why it's going to lead the outcomes that favorable outcomes for all of us. So what I will say to the community is, I think you need to understand our voice. We need to understand our power, and we need to understand that we are stronger together. So we have to come together. We have to stand up for one another.
Abdi, thank you. Bringing this to our local context here in central Minnesota, we have the highest per capita in terms of Somalis against other communities across the West. Anywhere in the West, we have the highest per capita of concentration of Somalis, and that has not translated into a representation. For the past 15 years, 10 years, we always had candidates running for office ending up with a big lose and not winning any elected office. So my question is, how can we create those civic engagement and convert rhetoric into an actual vote that will lead to a win?
I, as someone who have lost multiple times, I feel attacked here. I don't necessarily see a loss as a bad thing. I think, like I said, when I ran before, the first time I ran for city council in 2016. I pride myself that I brought up good issues to the service. Even though I did not win, our conversation changed the way it used to be in St. Cloud. Candidates who ran for city council didn't used to knock doors, didn't talk to people that much. They were very comfortable in their seat, and issues like housing, public safety, all those things were not something that was easily communicated with people. As someone who was running, I brought that up. So sometimes that's the win. The win is running. For you to run and put the message out there and make sure that you stood for something. If we don't stand for something, we fail for something. So we have to stand up and do that. The other thing I believe is the Somali communities are resilient people, but they're very they're entrepreneurial. We are successful in a lot of other ways. Mm-hmm. We have doctors, we have professionals working in all sectors, the professionals doing everything. And we have entrepreneurs. We have people that cannot read and write, but have very successful businesses that employs people right here in Minnesota, right here in central Minnesota. So I think we have to measure our success in different ways. But also, we also have elected officials in places that were able to open up and allow new faces to step into politics, like Minneapolis and St. Paul area. So the way I think we can, and I know I see a few people raising hands in the audience. Hopefully we can get to them. But the way I see it is we are a community, and this is my last point on that. We are what's called disenfranchised voters. We are people that are new to the system of voting, and a lot of the times people Somali communities do not in tune to what is happening. They don't understand about politics and political engagements. And if their voice can make a difference, but that's changing slowly in the community. People are understanding that their voice can change a lot, and they're exercising it now. So in no time, we are going to see a representation that's going to represent the community, and I think I will be one of those people that are going to represent.
Thank you, Abdi. Before we proceed to the next question, I would like to have a follow-up on your response to the question I asked earlier. So you mentioned there have been, Somalis and other people of color who are being elected in Minneapolis, St. Paul. In my previous statement, I mentioned we have more people of color in St. Cloud specifically than Minneapolis, if you look at the per capita, right? So what is the issue? Why is it possible for people in Minneapolis, St. Paul, Twin Cities area to convert their effort into a reality, into a win, and so difficult for folks in St. Cloud to do that?
It's a good question, and it's multiple reasons. I will not mention all of it necessarily, but I think, like I said, our community here in St. Cloud are small. Yes, we have a large per capita communities, but they are young in terms of the age, in terms of how long they are in the country. These are people that mostly arrived in the past 15, 20 years in U.S. I know that because I used to be a refugee specialist working for Lutheran Social Service for years. We brought people in to St. Cloud. Just 10 years ago, St. Cloud was not didn't have this number of immigrants here. So this community is changing over the years, and I think it takes some time for people to realize that they have the right to vote, they have the power to make a difference, and that their votes can make a difference. I will not discourage smaller communities to vote necessarily. I remember when I was running, someone who I was running against in the city council told me that it took women to become elected officials for more than 100 years. And I said, it's not going to take me more than about 100 years for us to become something or to get elected. So things are changing. I think this is going to be the time that we will realize that change.
Thank you very much, Abdi. I think I also understand this difference, right, here in the metro area. So now back to our live audience. I think Mary has the mic. If you want to ask your questions, go ahead.
It's more of a comment to start with. It's like I'm gonna backtrack to something you said earlier when we were talking about the surge and moving into a new phase, because I'm skeptical about what this looks like. The nice thing that's happened, or the exciting thing that's happened in Minnesota, is the infrastructure that we're building to support each other. And that's going to continue because those needs and that trauma are still there, and families are going to be struggling. And I think some people, it took them longer to catch up and get up to speed, but there's some great infrastructure and people helping people, and they're finding ways to tap in. So that's one level of civic engagement that is very real and very important. And the Somali community, as well as the Latino community and across a lot of different clergy and people, are coming together to support and to care and to say, not in our community, you're not going to do this. And that's good. I'm also co-founder of St. Cloud Women's March. So March 31st is the next big rally. So we had 7,000 before, and those are growing, and it's cross-cultural. And people are getting their toe in, people that I never thought I'd see. And I've been doing this for 40 years or more. And I also think the Somali community doesn't realize its power. Just like For me, the great sleeping giant are university students who don't know how much power they have in shifting things. And if we get the right fired up sparks of organizers, I think, if you get those people in the right places, they make a world of difference. That's the difference to me between St. Cloud and Minneapolis. We've also trained, Ilhan was trained by Women Winning. There's great training programs out there if you're running for office. And most people don't win their first time. You did an amazing job. You've done an amazing job. Every time somebody's won or run, they made a difference in the conversation. And we realized how much, in my mind, screwy thinking is out there. And you go, oh my gosh. I remember door knocking with you when you ran the first time, and we were knocking in my neighborhood, and I was like, I don't know, somebody said something, and I walked away like, oh my God, I had no idea that that's how he thought. So, I mean, we get to know each other on many levels. And we're getting better. We're getting smarter. I think the more we can connect as a community between now and into the summer, because people aren't thinking about elections now. They're thinking about, am I going to be able to drive and get to the grocery store? And what's the price of stuff going to be? And is it going to be safe for me? And we need to acknowledge where they're at and go, give them the idea that we've got this. We need to change this dramatically so we can be about that and just keep putting opportunities out there to connect, to dialogue, to have conversations like these are important. So you guys are doing a great job, and I appreciate your time.
Can I just say I really appreciate some of the things that you said, Mary. I think it's important to reflect on all the good things that are happening in our community, and all the good people that are doing the good things. And thank you so much for doing that. Women March was one of the things that I slipped on my mind, but no king protest, all those things. And amazingly, a lot of this are led by women and are led by younger people, in some ways. So that's the movement that we see, and that movement is hopefully not going to end in the election. This is going to be something that's going on for a long time, and it's probably going to change how we engage in one another. The way I see it also is it shaped. It also, now a lot of people know each other. People didn't even know their neighbors before. In some cases, now people are getting to know each other because they see each other in the streets. They see each other in the protests. And that's a good thing. So if there's any good things that came out from this, is how well connected we all are with one another. So thank you so much for mentioning that.
Thank you, Abdi, and thank you, Mary, for enriching our conversation. I think, as she mentioned, and as you mentioned, every time people run for office, I think we're getting more closer to the winning than we started earlier with. So same opportunity goes to other audience. If you want to ask a question, there's a mic right there. Go ahead, Charlie.
Oh, thank you so much, Abdi Ibrahim. Thank you so much, Abdi Nassani. I love Abdis. And Abdi, I am so glad that you are running again. And I relate. I want you and anyone that can see or hear me to know that I relate to that experience, although I've only run once before. Though the experience of growth, it was certainly a great experience of growth for me, running for city council myself 2 years ago. And this is Charlie Hobbs, and I do a number of things, including serving on the St. Cloud City Planning Commission and serving on the board of directors and volunteering with FACT, Feeding Area Children Together, and more recently working with Amina Mumin Fahin organization on the Halal Food Drive, which brings up issues of food, issues of housing, related issues, And in traditional terms, in terms that I tend to speak of, certainly in city planning terms, it brings up issues of poverty. And this goes back to some of what was said earlier by you, Abdi, and by you, Mary. The ICE invasion and occupation, which has been, I think, truly a terroristic, violent, paramilitary, again, occupation. This has deeply exacerbated the poverty levels that we already had. And I think that's part of what you were getting at earlier, Abdi. And my hope, going back to the topic of growth, is that we have to believe that we can come out of this stronger, all of us as one community, especially mine, our Somali brothers and sisters and our Hispanic brothers and sisters, but all of us together. A friend of mine has an organization called One Community Alliance, a friend of ours. And I like that wording a lot because that's what I think of when I think of community, is one community, and it doesn't mean that everyone agrees on everything because there are differences, but as the same friend I'm thinking about talks about, we can have democratic coalitions. And we can, in that spirit, in that, with that human spirit, I think that we can come out of this stronger, and I encourage us all to believe that, so that we can make a difference ultimately, collectively, in elections, so that we can do practical things like get people more affordable housing, improve conditions for renters, make it easier for people to get food, deal with the child care deficit, a real issue that some unsavory characters chose to politicize recently. So this is a big can of worms, but I want to say I hear you and I affirm you and I stand with everyone who's concerned about what so many people have been dealing with lately with that ICE occupation. But it's exposed something, though. It's exposed those poverty conditions that too many people found it easy to overlook or to think nothing could be done about. And I say, let's run with that.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you so much. That's a bit. Sorry, it's more than politics, right? It's more than elections. It's more than party lines. And the question is, how can we have community participation in policy discussion? We have a lot of immigrant residents actively engaged in public hearing, town hall meeting, and policy forum. So how do these actions, attending town hall meeting, how can we change those actions into a result? And how can we encourage more to go to those town halls?
I think we have tried a lot to bring people together on things. We have previously did a lot of issues, conversations. We talked about education. I have attended in this community several events that's about education, about the opportunity gap in our communities. We have just last year, Charlie and I, he hosted us in his home. I hosted with him a conversation about housing and food insecurity. I'm glad he talked about that right now too. And we attracted a few people. That wasn't about politics. We didn't talk about politics. We didn't talk about anything in that nature. We talked about neighbors struggling to feed their kids. Families struggling to afford their rent. And those are real things. Yes. And I think people will come together for issues. We might not agree for politics, but we will agree for causes that are affecting all of us, and for issue based. So I think one of the ways to really attract more people is to talk more about issues, and frankly, just ignore the party and politics, because politics is just becoming so toxic, where a lot of people just don't want to associate with themselves. You might think right now, people will be all, taking arms for politics. No, people are, they're fed up about the party lines. They're fed up about, Republican telling something to them, and then about their neighbors, and Democrats saying something different. People just want to talk as people, and I think that's what also Charlie was talking about, and that I was alluding earlier. The poverty is real, right? There was a meeting I was at a few days ago, and there were people that showed up, and they talked about, someone talked about mental health, everything that was happening and how that's affecting a lot of the people that they work with and their mental health. Someone talked about several families, more than a couple dozens of families that they're working with right now who cannot afford to pay their rent because they stayed home in the last few months. I can continue on. Some talking about basic needs, food. Similar to what Fahan organization, other organizations that are providing food shelves are doing in our communities. So I think all of those things are very, very real. And until we humanize and talk about those things without really talking about politics, only then we can make a real change in our community.
Thank you, Abdi. I would like to give an opportunity to our live audience to give us an input. We would like this to be community engaged, right? So ask questions, give an input. It's for all of us to have a discussion.
Hi, Abdi. My name is Brian. I'm with Cairo as well. Thanks for having me on today. I had seen an uptick in clients that are looking for job applications, looking for work. I'm seeing clients from different populations that normally weren't applying for jobs before, like they were typically employed, they had long-standing employment, and now they're losing their job for one reason or another. What's one way that you see jobs creation coming back to St. Cloud? How could Somalis in their entrepreneurship maybe encourage that in your ways? What kind of policies do you think you could influence to promote economic growth in St. Cloud?
Thank you. I'm going to add on what Brennan mentioned on his question. Just due to the ICE operation in St. Cloud, many people felt unsafe to go to work. Yep. They miss work, they get fired, they get suspended, and now they're out of work. They have to look for a job, right? So what kind of impact would this leave for the next few months, and what resources may be there for families to seek?
First of all, I wish companies were not doing such a thing. I personally had families that, individuals that couldn't attend to work, and I gave them a time off. I told them they can stay home as long as they feel, and come back when they feel safe. And I have only about 25 employees. So if I could manage to make my my employees cover each other's shift when people cannot show up because of fear of ICE, then I think companies with thousands of employees could definitely do it without feeling it. But we do understand that a lot of the market we live in, people are and companies are looking into their bottom line. They are not necessarily trying to help folks. And I'm not saying there's a lot of companies that are actually doing a good work and really understands the importance of helping their employees and do that. But that's a real thing. Another thing that's actually real is St. Cloud lost a lot of important employers in the last few years. Companies that were close to home, that were doing, or employed thousands of people, moved either, elsewhere and left our communities. And that we felt that because we have seen a lot of people that lost their job because of it. One of it could be right here in Electoral Acts that were, that moved. We had other companies in the area that moved, and that
FDC,
Coleman. There's a lot of companies that actually left over the years from St. Cloud, and primarily people who were working there were also immigrant communities, but there was others that were also working there. So that's there. I think personally, I'm a small business owner. And I think there's so much the small businesses can fill in, but we also sometimes we need big manufacturing companies that can employ a lot of people, and I think it will be our task to make sure that and the leaders' task, the government, both local governments and state government and even federal government. To attract people. We have federal leaders sometimes that are not necessarily thinking about that. A lot of the times leaders that we elect things that they just have to do legislation. Sometimes you actually have to attract employers to your area. You have to, you have to be closer to your community. You have to know what your community are going through. You have to be part of that community. We have seen a lot of absent leadership. And I think the more people are closer to their leadership, and that's why we have such a level of government that we have. It's supposed to be very close to the communities, right? So until we have something like that, and people are showing up to their community and be part of such a conversations, only we can change and create policies that are attracting employers.
You mentioned people who are elected in office. I can say Tom Emmerich, he has been in support of the ICE operation, and he said some comment about the Somalis who are part of his constituency. What do you think about that? I think we should have a real conversation.
Absolutely. I wasn't a big fan of going people's comment, but I found myself, going in and responding to some of the things that Tom Emmer posts. I would just say, and it's not only him, any leader that push a broad, paint a broad brush to whole communities is wrong. Communities shouldn't be scapegoated for what's happening. Also, people that you represent deserves your voice, and I think people like him and they have people that they know, right? A lot of the times I say someone asked me not long ago about someone who's running, and they said, "What do you think about that person?" I said, "That person do not have." I'm not going to mention the person's name, but I said that person do not have 5 Somali people phone number. So I said, if you want to support someone like that, go ahead and do it. And the reason why I say that is when you're running or when you represent people, you have to represent those people. You have to have close contact with everyone in that community. And I think, and what if you have and you're not talking to them, that's also wrong, right? But we want to make sure that we address those things and make sure people are aware who represents them.
I think we want to narrow down to different people within our community. There's the youth and the family engagement. There's a lot of young people in this community who are not civically engaged. So what role do young people and families play in civic engagement? How can we involve our youth in understanding government policy and advocacy from an early age?
It's a good question. I think I also have seen a lot of good organizations that are helping those youth build their leadership capacity. As you were talking about that, it feels like you saw Mustafa walking in. He's a young man, but also being involved in a lot of different things. But he, youth like him we need to build them. We need to, provide opportunities that they can grow themselves. We need to make sure that those youth are also, if they want to go to, further their education, they are doing it. We need to provide opportunities so they can, the other thing that's happening in St. Cloud, for example, is you see a lot of younger people moving out of St. Cloud because of lack, or not a lot of opportunities. So we need to provide all of those things. But I think youth, I always encourage when I see youth, involved, become volunteer, get involved in different things. If you're in school, get involved in your school, join clubs, join sports teams, do different things that's going to expose you to being part of your community, and that's going to lead you to be a little more informed and more understanding of what's happening, and that always leads to good things for youth. So I'll do that. I'll say that. I think that's very important.
Thank you. I think mentorship plays a big role in youth getting involved. Yeah. I want to give this opportunity to our live audience. This is all-inclusive discussion. If you have any opinion, if you have a question to add to our conversation, feel free to do so. There's a mic amongst yourself. Feel free. We are approaching the end of this conversation. So before we end up, I want to make sure you have the chance to say and add value to our conversation. Go ahead, Mustafa.
Yeah, so sometimes I don't like getting put on the spot. But
sorry I put you on the spot.
No worries. I think
you're like the youngest here. So
yeah.
You walked in at the same time we were talking about young people, so I think that was a good time.
Maybe it was just meant to be. But there's not a lot of people you go out and see that really put youth at the forefront of their career or their time. Everybody has the same dreams and aspirations. Everybody wants to put their name on a stadium, right? But when it comes to youth and opening boundaries for them, or just inspiring them, I think a lot of it comes from seeing other great leadership in the community, right? Seeing other people to look up to that look just like them, that talk just like them, that come from the same place as them, doing more broader and more great things, and then coming back into the community and supporting them. Just like Abdi said, a lot of the youth we see here, they have to go elsewhere for the opportunities, whether that's civic engagement, whether that's just a career, a job, something, But to me, it's all about the environment, creating that environment where the youth can not only grow and flourish, It doesn't happen overnight, but conversations like this and people who put the future of our cities at the forefront of their mind is what creates that change for years and years to come. So, yeah.
I love it.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience who would like to add? Go ahead, we can hear you.
Thank you, Abdi, Ibrahim, and Abdi Daysane for taking us this show today. It is very educational, and I really appreciate for this kind of organization. I think when it comes to civic engagement, we'll need more forums and more discussions and more time to put into the community, because a lot of us voting is not making sense to them. You might find we've been doing door knocking, and a lot of people question about I got a job, I get my paycheck, and I came home, take care of my kids. So it doesn't make sense to them voting, and what interprets when it comes to electing to someone that you really trust, someone that you see in your future in. So I think sessions like this will be really very vital, and the way we see the country now, the trajectory in which the country is moving right now is very dangerous. So I think we need people to come out and really actually voice out and vote for the people like Abdi Daysane, and we have to make sure that he's in the ballot this time.
Thank you. I think Abdi want to respond before I got.
It's not a question.
Go ahead, Ahmed.
I don't have a question, but I just want to put Brandon on the spot because he works with youth. throughout the year. So maybe you can share one or two things with us about how we can activate the youth to become very active in local policy and how to help them engage with the local elected leaders.
Yeah, hopefully you guys can hold that question. I don't want to interrupt the flow on your guys' end. Put simply, we spoke with some of the city council, we spoke with the mayor, didn't lead to anything. It's like, you know, the typical government situation where you go in, you know, stereotypical, go in, make a plan, nothing happens. So much so that the second time we met, I said, kind of the preface, I said, let's make sure we have a plan before we leave. Like, what can we do like tomorrow, or what can we do this week? Nothing came of it. So I'd say in the government terms, I think a lot of people are used to admin work. Not a lot of people are doing the heavy lifting anymore when you get into that government role. So you might have too many managers, not enough workers, and no one's going to actually engage the youth, because that sounds like a lot of work. So if you're just going to have managers and admins, and in this case it's going to be council members and government officials who are doing high level work, you're going to have to bring youth up to speed. You're going to have them do you're going to have to either let them do equivalent work, or you're going to have to just give them the reins on doing some kind of position that you're willing to outsource. But trying to like monitor and supervise doesn't seem to work. It doesn't seem like they have the interest in doing that.
I think just to add on to Brennan's point, I think young people have a lot of creativity and spark and love for what they do. So when a young person comes into something like, you know, looking to change or affect something, I think we should just brush over their shoulder, you know. We should be able to guide them a little bit and hone in their vision and the things that they're really passionate about, and not just, you know, tell them, hey, stick to this.
Thank you, audience, for that, for enriching the conversation. I think that's very helpful. Your input is greatly appreciated. Abdi, do you have a comment?
I was just going to say, actually, I was going to put, not necessarily put Brendan on the spot, but I was going to mention organizations, of course, that are like I said earlier, that are working with youth, doing, you know, youth development programs, working with them. I have seen, for example, Cairo taking kids to DC, New York, and showing them the halls of power and just taking them there. I have seen a smaller level of engagement where kids were taken to city council meetings. I was part of a small group of leaders that have been trained here a few months ago by Next Gen Voices. Aftah is sitting behind there, nodding his head. And part of it was, he told the youth to go to the city council and listen to the city council meeting and win meeting, which, all those things kind of adds up to a very robust network of trying to help those youth become involved. It's weird. As we were talking about this, I just remember. I actually, and I was younger then. I'm not as young as I was then.
Go ahead.
But I remember talking about this specific. How can you make a room for youth to be engaged in local government topic, and I did 2 engagements. Nice. One in Texas, believe it or not.
Wow.
Once. And one in Rochester, right here in Minnesota. Both of it was local government leaders come together. The one in Rochester was mayors all over the state coming together, and we talked to them. We pitched them exactly some of the things that Brendan was talking about, and most of allowing those youth to show their spark and creativity in what's happening. So I think we need more of those, and thank you so much for both of you for injecting that and reminding us.
Thank you. Before we proceed, I would invite Abdul Fattah, but before I do that, we all know youth, they do not only need to be involved, they need representation, actual representation. They need to be given the spaces to be present. If we have a town hall meeting and these are the young people over there, if we have a city council that's everybody's above 40, every elected office every position of power where people are able to make a decision. If it's people above 40, I think we've technically ignored our youth and young people, and it's time for us to reflect on that. And this can be led by young people, agencies, and all of that. So, Abdullah, the mic is yours.
Thank you, Abdi, and thank you, Abdi Desane, for the great community education. I just want to echo what Khalif said. This type of gathering is really good, community educational, and we're doing a lot of civic engagements. But I just want to thank the community, especially our neighbors. They have really shown a lot of support. I don't know how we were thinking even to hold like a potluck and share a meal and come together. I mean, that's a conversation we're still having. So I really want to thank our neighbors, the Americans. They've shown a lot of support for for the Somali Americans and the and the immigrants in general, and also XIDIG for covering all these things. Our brother Muhammad Jama has really done a fantastic job. So I just wanted to add that and thank him and thank the neighbors for coming and supporting us. Yeah, and thank you, Abdi.
Thank you very much. To speak, if you still want to speak, you can raise your hand. We'll give you the mic. If not, we'll be rounding up soon. So before I'll come back, if you wanna, Farhia, if you wanna talk, you can proceed. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, comment.
First of all, I want to say thank you, everybody, and thank you, Mohammed, for inviting me the last minute. I just want to appreciate. It has been a very tough year for all of us, and as a mental health professional, there is a lot of frustration in our community, and I was part of, we were having a WhatsApp discussion about the fear in the communities and how I had my passport with me, and I'm sure every person of color, specifically Somali community, have been doing that. But what I really appreciate is the resilience and the bravery of our community. It sounded like, an ending task, but now that what we're hearing coming from the government is at least a positive news. And I just want to say thank you, Abdi Sene, for not giving up on our community. We need that representation. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
And yeah,
Thank you.
Just
Thank you very much.
We need somebody. We always rely on other people to represent. And as a professional, I want to see people representing us in government, in social services, in mental health, in workplaces, and so thank you for bringing us together.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Farhio, for that input. Abdi, we are going to wind up our conversation. Any final thoughts regarding our discussion today? Comments from our viewers? Anything you would like to share?
Thank you. I think this was very lovely, and you seemed cut off for this. You're an expert in this by now.
Thank you.
You should run this all the time. But I think all of you guys coming in and just joining us is wonderful, and having these conversations. It shows. I have seen time and time again, when we call for the communities, they show up, and that alone shows you that how much our community care each other, and this is a really important conversation. I think if to continue this spirit, to continue this support, Abdullah said, wrapped up really well. Community members step up. Supported each other. I have seen people taking shifts on just parking, or even parking somewhere and waiting for the children to come from school so they can safely take those kids to their homes. I have seen people that are helping others for grocery. My own neighbors approached me without even expecting one day, and she said, if you guys need anything, let me know. I can go do it. And I said, thank you so much, but I personally don't have the luxury of staying home. I know some people who are, But I said, you know, if I stay home, I feel like I will be homeless soon. I won't be able to pay my rent. And I said a lot of our communities are also looking up to us to provide that support, that leadership. So I don't have the luxury and the privilege of staying inside. But I said, you know, thank you so much. I have seen a lot of the people doing similar thing and asking for help. Asking how they can help. So I think I also want to echo what Abstah said, you know, I want to thank our communities for showing up, for sacrificing so much in the last few months, for standing up for one another, and saying out loud that, you know, we are not going to be divided by the rhetoric that's coming from the highest of the office. And just trying to divide our communities. We're going to be united. We're going to support one another. We're going to fight for our rights and our dignity. Because if one person's constitutional rights is violated, it is as all our rights are violated. So we're not going to take it and be okay with it. So thank you so much for that. I think this is a very broad topic. We're not going to finish it and even get started. So I think we need more conversations, even more guided conversation on the specific part of this topic in the future. But I want to thank you, and I want to thank Mohammed, Jama, and XIDIG TV for putting this together.
Thank you, Abdi Desane. I think it's courageous of you to sit on this table, answer all the questions. I put you on some very tough questions. I want to thank you also for your bravery to run for public office, advocate for this community, and be in spaces, so many spaces where many of us are not there.
And can I say, not because I know everything, I don't know much. I only say things that I feel is right, and things that I believe in personally. That's why this is more enriching than anything else. I think, and I don't mean to take the second thoughts again, but like you said, being able to sit here, it's not about what you know. It's about authenticity. Mm-hmm. It's if you're authentic to yourself and willing to share what you think, rather than knowing something. And there's a lot of people. Who knows more, but who are not willing to be honest about how they feel and what they know. And I think that's what we're trying to avoid. We want to make sure that people are sharing their authentic self on the stage, so people can know.
Thank you, Abdi. So as we close tonight's conversation, I want to leave our viewers with this. Civic engagement is not something that happens every 4 years. It's not just about elections. We've talked about so many other things. It's about awareness, participation, and responsibility, which we've all showed in its best spaces tonight. So I think this is just the beginning of a series of conversation. Feel free to share with us any topic that you would like us to discuss. If you are not with us tonight, if you're not part of our live audience tonight, you are also very welcome to join us. We will share our scheduled series of conversation ahead of time. Flyers will be shared out ahead of time. Feel free to join us, and you can also contribute your ideas to our social media. We're live on Facebook. Thank you all for watching us live, or if you're at home. Until you hear from us, from me and my guest tonight, we wish you